The scent bond snapped at exactly 9:47 p.m., and I felt my wolf die inside me. Not metaphorically, not dramatically. She actually died, curled up somewhere deep in my chest and stopped breathing. I knew because the silence where her heartbeat used to live suddenly became the loudest thing in the world. I was on my knees in front of 300 wolves, my ceremonial handbox soaked through with rain that had stopped an hour ago. The silver embroidery, meant to honor the mating bond, clung to my skin like a funeral shroud. Blood had dried on my knees from when I'd collapsed. No one had helped me up. I, Park Hyunwoo, alpha of the Gangnam Pack, reject you, Han Jiwoo, as my fated mate. His voice carried across the stone courtyard of the pack hall, steady and cold. 28 years old, perfectly composed, like he was discussing quarterly reports instead of severing a sacred bond. Beside him stood Jae 27, his co-alpha and my second bondmate. Jae wouldn't even look at me. 23 years old, and I was being discarded in front of Seoul's most powerful wolves. The bond had clicked into place 6 weeks ago at the autumn equinox gathering. I'd been serving tea because that's what low-status omegas do, when both their wolves had surged forward simultaneously. Mate. The word had thundered through my blood, my bones, my soul. For 6 perfect weeks, I'd believed I was the luckiest wolf alive. Then Hyunwoo's enemies started circulating rumors about my mother, about how she'd been a rogue, about how my bloodline was questionable, about how bonding with me made them look weak. So here we were. Your presence threatens pack stability, Hyunwoo continued, addressing the crowd more than me. Your lineage cannot be verified. Your omega status makes you a liability in territorial negotiations. I should have been crying, should have been begging. That's what everyone expected. The broken omega, sobbing for his alphas to reconsider. Instead, I started laughing. Not hysterical laughter. Cold, sharp laughter that made wolves in the front row flinch. A liability? I pushed myself to my feet, ignoring how my legs shook. That's fascinating, Hyunwoo, considering I'm the one who caught your finance minister embezzling PAC funds 3 weeks ago. His jaw tightened. Good. And Jae, I turned to the second alpha, who finally met my eyes. Remember that territorial negotiation with the Gangnam Pack last month? The one where you almost agreed to terms that would have cost you the Hanamdong properties? Who whispered the counteroffer in your ear? Jae face went pale. I'd always been good at reading people. No, that wasn't quite right. I could hear them. Not their words, but their thoughts. It had started when I was 15, terrifying and uncontrollable. By 17, I'd learned to shield myself, to pretend I was just observant instead of literally psychic. My telepathy was the only reason I'd survived 6 weeks in their inner circle without being devoured. You're rejecting me because I'm inconvenient, I said softly, letting my voice carry through the sudden silence. Not because I'm weak, because I'm not weak enough. Enough! Hyunwoo's alpha command rolled over the crowd, but I'd been blocking his influence since week 2. The bond is severed. You have until sunrise to leave pack territory. That's when the real pain hit. The bond severance wasn't instant. It was a slow shredding, like someone pulling a golden thread out of my chest, one agonizing inch at a time. I felt Hyunwoo's wolf retreat first, then Jaewon's. The empty spaces where they lived inside me began to burn. My wolf whimpered, then fell silent. No, no, please don't leave me alone. But she was already gone, retreating so deep I couldn't feel her anymore. Omegas whose wolves went dormant after. Rejection usually died within 3 months. The bond severance damaged something vital, something that couldn't heal. I had maybe 90 days before my body started shutting down. Pathetic, someone whispered in the crowd. Others nodded. A few looked away, uncomfortable but unwilling to help. This was pack law. Alphas could reject bonds if the omega was deemed unfit. No one would challenge it. I turned to walk away, head high, refusing to give them the satisfaction of watching me crumble. That's when I felt it. 2 presences at the edge of the courtyard, watching with an intensity that made my spine straighten. I didn't need to turn around to know they were alphas, powerful ones. Their scents cut through the rain-soaked air, Black coffee and cedar, storm winds and dark chocolate. My dying wolf stirred, just barely, like she'd caught the scent of something worth surviving for. Who? But when I finally turned, they were gone. I walked out of Gangnam Pack, territory with nothing but the clothes on my back and a wolf who'd stopped fighting. The gates closed behind me with a metallic clang that sounded like a coffin lid. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rolled. I should have been afraid, should have been planning my survival. Instead, I kept thinking about those 2 cents, the way my wolf had responded even in her dying state, and the thoughts I'd pulled from Hyunwoo's mind in those final moments. She can't know. If Jiwoo finds out what we're really hiding, everything falls apart. I smiled into the darkness. They thought they'd broken me. They had no idea I'd been reading their secrets for 6 weeks. The rain started again before I made it to the end of the block. Of course it did, because apparently the universe had decided tonight was the perfect time to dump every available cliche on my head. Rejected Omega? Check. Torrential downpour? Check. Dramatic exit with nowhere to go? Double check. I pulled my soaked hanbok tighter, which accomplished absolutely nothing except making me look more pathetic. The fabric was probably worth more than 3 months of my old salary, and I was going to ruin it walking through Gwangjingu's back alleys like some tragic protagonist in a low-budget drama. Focus, Jiwoo. Survival first, self-pity later. My wolf still wasn't responding. I pressed a hand to my chest, trying to feel for her presence. But there was only that terrible hollow silence. 3 months. Maybe less if the bond damage was worse than I thought. I should have been panicking, should have been crying. Instead, I kept replaying those final seconds in the courtyard, those 2 presences that had made my dying wolf lift her head. Who were they? My telepathy brushed against the minds around me automatically. Late-night commuters thinking about dinner, a convenience store worker counting down minutes until closing, an elderly woman worrying about her grandson. Normal thoughts, human thoughts, nothing that would help me. Then I caught something else. He's heading toward the old district. Should we intervene? The thought was sharp, controlled, belonging to someone trained to guard their mind. I froze mid-step, reaching out carefully with my ability. 2 minds, both alpha, both tracking my movements from somewhere behind me. Wait, the second mind responded. Let's see where he goes first. If he collapses, we move. Oh, hell no. I spun around, scanning the street. Empty storefronts, a few parked cars, shadows pooling under broken streetlights. Nothing obvious. But I could feel them watching, could taste their focused attention, like electricity on my tongue. I know you're there, I called out, loud enough to carry. And I'm not in the mood for mysterious stalker bullshit tonight, so either show yourselves or go away. Silence. Rain hissing against pavement. Then from the shadows near a closed cafe, 2 figures stepped into the light. My breath caught. They were both tall, broad-shouldered, moving with that predatory grace that screamed alpha even before their sense hit me. The first one had sharp features, dark hair pushed back from his forehead, wearing a black coat that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. His eyes were intense, calculating, missing nothing. The second was slightly taller, with softer features that somehow made him more dangerous, not less. He wore glasses that should have made him look scholarly, but instead just emphasized the intelligence burning behind them. His smile was gentle. I didn't trust it for a second. Both late 20s, both looking at me like I was a problem they were trying to solve. Han Jiwoo, the first one said, voice smooth as expensive whiskey. We've been waiting for you. I laughed. Couldn't help it. Oh, fantastic. You know my name. Should I be flattered or terrified? Neither, the second one said, pushing his glasses up. We're not here to hurt. Yuti. Right, because following a rejected Omega through dark alleys at night screams good intentions. I crossed my arms, ignoring how the movement made my ribs ache. The bond severance was starting to cause physical damage. I had maybe an hour before the real pain kicked in. He's stronger than we expected. The first one's thoughts whispered through my shields. The bond severance should have broken him by now. Look at his eyes, the second responded mentally. He's already reading us. My stomach dropped. They knew. They knew I was telepathic. The first alpha stepped closer, and I tensed. but he just reached into his coat and pulled out a business card, held it out like a peace offering. "My name is Kang Doyun," he said. "This is Choi Seojun. We run the Gangnam Pack." Oh, Gangnam Pack. One of Seoul's three major territories, rivals to Gwangjin for the past decade. I'd heard about their alphas, the infamous duo who'd taken control 5 years ago and turned a struggling pack into a powerhouse. And you're here because I took the card, mostly to have something to do with my hands. Because we've been watching Park Hyun-woo for 6 months, Seojun said quietly. We know about the embezzlement, the falsified territory reports, the deals he's been making with rogue packs in Incheon. We also know, Doyun added, that you're the one who discovered most of it. My heart kicked against my ribs. How could you possibly? Your telepathy isn't as subtle as you think. Seojun's smile widened slightly. Especially not when you're pulling information from an alpha's mind during a negotiation. We felt the psychic signature. I should have run, should have put up every mental shield I had and disappeared into the night. Instead, I heard myself say, "So what do you want? Information? Revenge? A convenient weapon to use against your rival?" Doyun's expression didn't change. All of the above. At least he was honest. And in exchange? I swayed slightly, the bond pain starting to spike. What are you offering? Because I'm not interested in charity. Not charity. Seojun moved closer, steady, unthreatening. Partnership. We need what you know about Gangnam Pack, Doyun continued. And you need to not die in 3 months, I finished. Yeah, I'm aware. They exchanged a glance. Some silent alpha communication I couldn't read. Then Seojun said the words that changed everything. We can save your wolf. I stared at Seojun like he'd just offered to sell me the moon. Save my wolf. My voice came out flat. Right. And I suppose you've got a magic cure for bond severance just lying around in your pocket. Not magic, Doyun said. Science, and extremely illegal. Well, that was honest enough to be terrifying. Seojun adjusted his glasses, and I caught a flash of his. Thoughts before he locked them down again. Clinical trial, experimental. 60% success rate. He doesn't need to know the failures yet. Oh, absolutely not. Let me guess, I said, taking a step back. You want to use me as a lab rat for some untested procedure, and in exchange, I give you all of Hyun-woo's dirty secrets? That's a terrible deal. The deal, Doyun corrected, moving to block my retreat without making it obvious, is that we stabilize your wolf, give you sanctuary in Gangnam territory, and help you become powerful enough that Park Hyun-woo regrets ever speaking your name. A spike of pain shot through my chest. I pressed a hand over my heart, feeling the empty space where my wolf used to be. The severance was accelerating. I could feel my body starting to reject itself, like a machine missing a critical component. And what do you get out of this? I managed through gritted teeth. Besides information? Seojun's smile was gentle and absolutely deadly. We get to watch Gangnam Pack crumble. Hyun-woo's been building his reputation on lies for years. With your testimony and the evidence you've gathered, we can destroy him politically, financially, and socially. Revenge, I said. Justice, Doyun countered. There's a difference. Another wave of pain hit, stronger this time. My knees buckled and suddenly Seojun was there, catching me before I hit the wet pavement. His scent wrapped around me, storm winds and dark chocolate, and my dying wolf whimpered. Alpha, safe, want. No, absolutely not. I was not doing this again. Don't touch me, I shoved at his chest, but my strength was draining fast. I'm not some helpless omega who needs rescuing. Clearly, Seojun said dryly, but he didn't let go. That's why you're currently collapsing in a back alley in the rain. I'm having a perfectly dignified medical emergency. Thank you very much. Doyun crouched in front of me, eyes level with mine. Up close, I could see flecks of gold in his dark irises. Han Jiwoo, you have approximately 48 hours before the bond damage becomes irreversible. You can spend that time being stubborn, or you can let us help you. I reached out with my telepathy, diving past his surface thoughts into the deeper currents. What I found made me freeze. Grief, old and carefully buried, but still raw around the edges. A younger brother, Omega, dead at 19 from bond severance after his alpha was killed in a territory war. Doyun had held him while he died, unable to do anything except watch his wolf fade away. Never again, his mind whispered. Never again. I pulled back, shaken. Your brother. Doyun's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Seojun told you we could feel your telepathy. Stop being surprised when we know you're listening. I wasn't listening, I trailed off because there was no good way to finish that sentence. I'm sorry about your brother. Then let us help you. His voice was quiet but intense. Let us give you what we couldn't give him. It was manipulative as hell. It was also probably genuine. Alphas were complicated like that. I looked between them. Doyun with his sharp edges and buried pain. Seojun with his gentle smile and dangerous mind. Both of them watching me like I was something valuable, something worth saving. The bond severance sent another spike of agony through my chest, and I felt my wolf slip further away. 3 months, I thought desperately. I have 3 months at most. 60% success rate, I said to Seojun. What happens to the other 40%? He had the decency not to lie. Permanent wolf dormancy. You'd survive, but you'd essentially be human. And if I do nothing? Death within 3 months, Doyun said bluntly. Painful, slow, and completely preventable. I laughed because the universe really did have a twisted sense of humor. So my options are possible death, probable lobotomy, or guaranteed death. Fantastic. There's a fourth option, Seojun said quietly. I raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. Take the treatment, survive, get strong enough to make Hyunwoo and Jaewon regret everything. His eyes gleamed behind his glasses. Then decide if you want to stay human or not. The rain was soaking through my handbag. My chest felt like someone was carving out my ribs with a dull knife, and two strange alphas were offering me a deal that was either salvation or damnation. I should have asked more questions, should have demanded guarantees, should have been smart and cautious and all the things a good Omega was supposed to be. Instead, I heard myself say, if I do this, I want 3 things. Doyun's lips curved slightly. Name them. 1. I'm a partner in whatever scheme. You're planning, not a pet. 2. You teach me everything you know about pack politics, territory law, and how to destroy an alpha's reputation. I met both their eyes. And 3. When Hyunwoo falls, I want to be the one holding the knife. Seojun's smile widened. Deal. Just like that. Just like that, Doyun confirmed. He stood extending his hand. Welcome to Gangnam Pack, Han Jiwoo. I took his hand. His grip was warm, steady, alive. Behind us, thunder cracked across the Seoul skyline. My wolf stirred, just barely. But it was enough. Doyun's car was exactly what I expected from a Gangnam Pack alpha. Sleek, black, and probably worth more than my entire existence. Of course you drive a Genesis, I muttered as Seojun opened the back door. What, the Bentley was in the shop? The Bentley is Seojun's, Doyun said, sliding into the driver's seat. I prefer local. How patriotic of you. Seojun guided me into the one back seat with a hand on my lower back, and I tried very hard to ignore how my traitorous wolf perked up at the touch. She was supposed to be dying, not suddenly developing opinions about attractive alphas. Focus. This is a business arrangement. They want information, you want survival. That's it. The leather seats were heated. I sank into the warmth with a sigh I absolutely did not mean to let out. Comfortable? Seojun asked, amusement coloring his voice as he settled beside me. I'm wet, freezing, and my internal organs feel like they're dissolving. So no, not particularly. I pulled off the soaked outer layer of my hanbok, leaving just the inner joggery, still drenched, but at least I could move. Where exactly are we going? Gangnam territory, Cheongdam-dong. Doyun pulled into traffic smoothly. Our medical facility is there. You have a medical facility? What are you, a pack or a corporation? Both, they said in unison. Of course they were. I leaned my head back against the seat, trying to breathe through another spike of pain. The bond severance was getting worse, each wave hitting harder than the last. My wolf was barely a whisper now, a fading echo of what she'd been. Hold on, I thought desperately. Just a little longer. Seojun's hand touched my wrist, fingers finding my pulse. Your heart rate is elevated. When was the last time you ate? This morning. I was supposed to have a mating feast tonight. I laughed, sharp and bitter. Guess that's off the table. His fingers tightened slightly. Not painful, just grounding. We'll feed you when we arrive. I'm not hungry. You're going into shock. You need food. I turned to look at him, really look at him. In the dim light from passing street lamps, I could see the concern in his expression. Genuine concern, not the performative kind Hyunwoo used to show whenever other wolves were watching. Why do you care? I wanted to ask. You don't even know me. But I could feel the answer in his thoughts, the ones he wasn't quite shielding. The memory of Doyun's brother, fading away while they could do nothing. The desperate need to save someone, anyone, to make that old grief mean something. Stop reading me, Seojun said quietly. Stop thinking so loud, I countered. His smile was small but real. Fair enough. We drove through Seoul's glittering heart, past luxury boutiques and late-night cafes, into the kind of neighborhood where even the convenience stores looked expensive. The Gangnam Pack territory was everything Gwangjin wasn't. Modern, polished, powerful. Doyun pulled into an underground garage beneath a building that looked like it belonged in a medical drama. All glass and steel and soft lighting that screamed, "We have money and we're not afraid to show it." This is a hospital? I asked as we took a private elevator up. Research facility, Doyun corrected. We fund medical studies for wolf-specific conditions. Bond trauma, feral prevention, genetic therapies. So you experiment on wolves. We heal wolves, Seojun said firmly. There's a difference. The elevator doors opened onto a floor that looked more like a luxury hotel than a medical wing. Soft carpets, warm lighting, the faint scent of lavender and clean linen. A young nurse looked up from her station, eyes widening when she saw us. Alpha Kang, Alpha Choi. She bowed quickly. We weren't expecting you tonight. Emergency case, Doyun said. Is Dr. Min available? I'll page him immediately. They guided me down a hallway into a private room that was nicer than anywhere I'd ever lived. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a bed that looked like sleeping on clouds, a bathroom with a tub I could actually stretch out in. This is a medical room? I turned in a slow circle. Where are the machines? The scary needles? The overwhelming smell of disinfectant? We believe healing happens better in comfortable environments, Seojun said. The medical equipment is hidden in the walls. It deploys when needed. Of course it is. A knock at the door and a man in his early 30s entered. Soft features, kind eyes, wearing a white coat over designer clothes. His scent was beta, calm and neutral. Jiwoo, he said warmly, like we were old friends. I'm Dr. Min Ha-jun. I'll be overseeing your treatment. Treatment? I repeated. Right. The experimental one with a 60% success rate. Dr. Min shot Seojun a look. You told him the statistics? He's telepathic. He was going to find out anyway. Ah. Dr. Min turned back to me, completely unfazed. Well, that makes things easier. Yes, the treatment is experimental. Yes, there are risks. But I've successfully treated 3 omega wolves with bond severance in the past year, and all 3 have fully recovered. And the failures? 2 cases resulted in permanent wolf dormancy. 1 case, he paused. The patient didn't survive, but his bond damage was significantly more advanced than yours. I sat on the edge of the impossibly soft bed. So I'm on a timer. We all are in one way or another. Dr. Min pulled up a chair, sitting at my eye level instead of looming over me. But yes, I'd like to begin treatment tonight. Run some tests, establish a baseline, start the stabilization process. And if I say no, then I'll feed you, give you a place to sleep, and we'll talk again in the morning. His smile was gentle. No one here will force you into anything, Jiwoo. Not even to save your life. I looked between the 3 of them. Dr. Min with his careful kindness. Seojun with his protective hovering. Doyun leaning against the window, watching me with those gold-flecked eyes. They'd given me a choice, a real one. Hyunwoo had never done that. Okay, I heard myself say, let's do this. Dr. Min's smile widened. Excellent. Let's start with the basics. He stood, moving to the wall, where he pressed his palm against what looked like decorative paneling. The wall opened smoothly, revealing medical equipment that belonged in a science fiction film. Monitors, scanning devices, things I couldn't even name. Okay, that's actually impressive, I admitted. Very Bond villain lair. We prefer cutting edge, Seojun said. Same thing, really. Dr. Min pulled out a tablet, fingers flying across the screen. I'm going to run a full diagnostic on your bond pathways. It won't hurt, but it might feel strange, like someone's tracing the inside of your chest with cold fingers. Well, that's not horrifying at all. He laughed, and I decided I liked him. Fair warning, your telepathy might spike during the scan. The equipment interacts with psychic pathways. If you start picking up thoughts you don't want, let me know immediately. Story of my life, I muttered. Doyun moved from the window, coming to stand beside the bed. Do you need us to leave? I considered it. The smart thing would be to say yes, to maintain some distance, to remember this was a business arrangement, but the bond severance pain was getting worse. My wolf was barely conscious, and some pathetic part of me didn't want to be alone. Stay, I said quietly. Please. Something shifted in Doyun's expression. Surprise, maybe, or satisfaction. He nodded once and settled into the chair Dr. Min had vacated. Seojun remained standing, close enough that I could feel his warmth. We're not going anywhere. Dr. Min approached with a device that looked like a sleek silver wand. This is a bond scanner. I'm going to move it over your chest and spine. Try to stay still and breathe normally. Breathing normally, got it. Totally not panicking. You're doing great, Seojun said, and the sincerity in his voice almost made me believe it. The scanner hummed to life, and Dr. Min began moving it slowly over my heart. The sensation was exactly as described. Cold fingers tracing the empty spaces where my bonds used to live. I shuddered, gripping the sheets. Then my telepathy exploded outward. Suddenly I was drowning in thoughts, emotions, memories that weren't mine. Dr. Min's clinical focus, running calculations and probabilities. Seojun's carefully controlled concern, worry bleeding through despite his calm exterior. And Doyun's mind, usually so locked down, now wide open. I saw his brother again, younger, laughing, alive. Saw the moment that changed to screaming, to blood, to a small body going limp in Doyun's arms. Felt the rage, the grief, the desperate promise he'd made over his brother's cooling corpse. I'll find a way to save them. Every Omega who suffers what you suffered, I swear it. I gasped, pulling back from the vision, but the scanner was still active, and my shields were shredded. More thoughts poured in. Seojun's memory of meeting Doyun, both of them broken in different ways, building something together from shared pain. Their pack, their research, their desperate hunt for a cure that could undo what had been done. And underneath it all, a thought from both of them, simultaneous and startling. He's stronger than any Omega we've treated. If anyone can survive this, it's him. Jiwoo, Dr. Min's voice cut through the chaos. I need you to ground yourself. Focus on something physical. Your breathing, the bed beneath you, anything. I grabbed for the first anchor I could find, Seojun's hand. My fingers locked around his wrist, and his scent immediately wrapped around me. Solid and real. Storm winds. Dark chocolate. Safety. My telepathy snapped back under control. Sorry, I managed, breathing hard. That was intense. No apologies necessary. Dr. Min was studying his tablet with a frown. Though your psychic sensitivity is higher than I expected, that's going to complicate the treatment. Complicate how? The medication we use to stabilize bond pathways also affects psychic channels. For most wolves, that's not an issue. But with your level of telepathic ability, he trailed off thinking, we'll need to adjust the dosage carefully. Too much and we might suppress your gift entirely. I should have been relieved. Living without telepathy sounded peaceful, honestly. No more unwanted thoughts, no more secrets I didn't want to know, no more emotional baggage from every person I passed on the street. But the idea of losing that part of myself felt wrong, like cutting off a limb. I want to keep it, I said. The telepathy, it's mine. Seojun's hand turned in my grip, fingers threading through mine. Then, we'll make sure you do. Dr. Min nodded slowly. It'll be more difficult. The treatment will take longer, the success rate drops to about 55%, and the process will be more painful. Are you sure? I spent 6 weeks in Gangnam Pack using my telepathy to survive. It's the only reason I'm still alive. I met his eyes. I'm not giving it up. Stubborn, Doyun observed. You say that like it's a bad thing. I didn't say it was bad. Dr. Min made a note on his tablet. All right, modified treatment protocol it is. I'll need to run more scans, get detailed readings on your psychic pathways. It's going to be a long night. Good thing I wasn't planning to sleep anyway. The next few hours blurred together. More scans, blood tests, psychic evaluations that left me drained and shaking. Doyun left at some point and returned with food. Jjajangmyeon, from a late-night Chinese place, still steaming hot. I inhaled it without tasting anything, too hungry to care. Seojun stayed the entire time, solid presence at my side. When my hands shook too badly to hold the chopsticks, he took them without comment and fed me himself. I should have been embarrassed. Instead, I was just grateful. Results are in, Dr. Min finally said, and the tone of his voice made my stomach drop. Good news, the bond damage isn't as advanced as I feared. Your wolf is dormant, but not dead. We can work with this. And the bad news? He hesitated. The severance created fractures in your psychic channels. They're healing wrong, building scar tissue that's affecting your telepathic range and control. If we don't address it during treatment, those fractures will become permanent. Meaning your telepathy will eventually consume itself. You'll either lose the ability entirely or, he paused, or it'll overwhelm you. No shields, no control, just a constant flood of everyone's thoughts until your mind breaks. The room went very quiet. So, I said finally, no pressure then. Seojun's hand found mine again, and somewhere deep in my chest, my wolf finally stirred. Not much, just a flicker of awareness, a tiny spark of defiance, but it was enough to make me smile. Let's save her, I said. Let's save both of us. Dr. Min moved with practiced efficiency, preparing an IV line that looked far more complicated than it should be. Multiple bags of fluid hung from a silver stand, each one a different color, connected by a web of tubes that made my stomach twist. That's a lot of mystery liquid, I observed. Please tell me none of it is experimental wolf serum harvested from sketchy sources? Only the best sketchy sources, Dr. Min replied without missing a beat. We have standards. Despite everything, I laughed. You know, for a doctor about to pump me full of untested chemicals, you're surprisingly fun. I find humor helps with the existential dread. He swabbed my inner arm with something cold. This is going to sting. Story of my night. The needle slid in smooth and sharp. I hissed through my teeth, but Seojun's hand tightened around mine, grounding me. The first medication hit my bloodstream like ice water, spreading through my veins with a sensation that made my wolf jerk awake. She was there, weak, damaged, barely conscious, but there. Hey, I thought desperately. I know it hurts. I know you want to sleep. But I need you to fight. Her response was barely a whisper. Tired. I know, me too. But we're not done yet. His vitals are spiking, Dr. Min said, watching the monitors that had deployed from the walls. Heart rate elevated, breathing shallow. That's normal for the first stage. Normal, I repeated. My chest felt like someone had reached inside and squeezed. Define normal. Your body is recognizing the bond pathways. Again, the medication is essentially rebuilding the connections that were severed. It's going to hurt like hell for about 20 minutes. Then the pain suppressants will kick in. 20 minutes. I tried to breathe through another wave of agony. Great. Fantastic. Love that for me. Doyun appeared on my other side, his cool hand pressing against my forehead. You're burning up. Thanks, I hadn't noticed. Sarcasm is a good sign, Dr. Min noted, adjusting one of the IV drips. Means your brain is still functioning. My brain is the only thing that works consistently, and honestly, even that's debatable. The pain intensified, spreading from my chest into my limbs. I could feel my wolf struggling, trying to surface, but the bond damage kept pulling her back down. It was like watching someone drown through frosted glass, unable to reach them, unable to help. Come on, I pleaded. Don't give up on me. Then the second medication hit, and everything went white. I was somewhere else, somewhere cold and empty. A space between consciousness and sleep where nothing existed except pain and the fading echo of my wolf. She was ahead of me, retreating into darkness, slipping away. No, I said out loud, or thought I did. You don't get to leave. We're not done. Tired, she repeated. Hurts. Yeah, well, living hurts. Dying hurts. Everything hurts. I pushed forward through the white space, chasing her fading presence. But we're survivors, remember? We survived a shitty childhood, a dead parent, 6 weeks with Hyunwoo's pack. We survived being rejected in front of 300 wolves. We're not dying in some medical facility because the pain got too bad. My wolf paused, turned to look at me with eyes that mirrored my own. Scared, she admitted. Me too. But I met these two alphas tonight, and they're either going to save us or kill us, and honestly, I'm curious to see which one. I reached for her, and in this strange in-between space, I could actually touch her. Feel her fur under my fingers, solid and real. So let's stick around and find out. She leaned into my hand, tired, damaged, but not defeated. Okay, she agreed. But if they're boring, we're leaving. I would have laughed if I had breath to laugh with. The white space shattered, and I crashed back into my body with a gasp that felt like my first breath after drowning. The pain was still there, but muted now, manageable. And underneath it, I could feel my wolf, not strong yet, but present, awake, alive. There you are, Seojun said softly. His hand was still in mine, and I realized I'd been gripping it hard enough to bruise. Welcome back. How long was I out? 43 seconds, Dr. Min replied, checking the monitors. But your wolf signature just spiked. She's responding to the treatment. I closed my eyes, reaching inward. My wolf was curled up somewhere, deep in my chest, exhausted but breathing. The empty spaces where the bonds used to be were still there, still aching, but they didn't feel quite so hollow anymore. It's working, I whispered. Phase 1 is working, Dr. Min corrected. We have 6 more phases to go. Each one will be progressively more difficult as we repair deeper damage. Of course it will. I opened my eyes, looking between Doyun and Seojun. You two don't have to stay. I'm sure you have alpha things to do. Territories to run, enemies to intimidate, expensive cars to polish. We're staying, Doyun said, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Why? I'm literally just going to be lying here being pumped full of mystery drugs. Seojun's smile was soft. Because the last time we let an Omega go through this alone, he died. We're not making that mistake again. The words hit harder than they should have. I wanted to tell them I wasn't their second chance, wasn't their redemption arc. I wanted to maintain distance, keep this professional. Remember, this was just a business arrangement. Instead, I heard myself say, thank you. Don't thank us yet, Doyun replied. Phase 2 starts in 5 minutes. Can't wait, I muttered, but I didn't let go of Seojun's hand. My wolf stirred again, and this time, she almost felt like herself. Dr. Min adjusted another IV line. The monitor beeped steadily. Outside the window, Seoul glittered like a promise. And for the first time since the rejection, I thought I might actually survive this. The medication changed colors in the tubes, shifting from clear to pale gold. Here we go, Dr. Min said. I took a breath and held on. The golden medication burned, not like the first phase's ice water shock, but like liquid sunlight being poured directly into my veins. I arched off the bed, every muscle locking tight, and distantly heard Dr. Min's calm voice saying something about neural pathway reconstruction. Breathe, Seojun urged, his other hand coming up to cup my face. Jiwoo, breathe through it. Trying, I gasped, not actually sure my lungs are working. They're working. You're talking, which means you're breathing. Your logic is terrible and I hate it. But I focused on his voice, his scent, the solid warmth of his hand. Slowly, my locked muscles began to release. The burning sensation spread from my chest into my head, and suddenly my telepathy exploded outward, with 3 times its normal range. I could feel every mind in the building. The nurse down the hall, worrying about her daughter's exam results. A security guard on the ground floor, thinking about his boyfriend. Dr. Min's clinical focus. Doyun's carefully controlled concern. And Seojun's thoughts, crystal clear despite his usual shields. Please work. Please let him survive this. I can't watch another Omega die. I'm not dying, I said out loud, and his eyes widened. Sorry, your shields are down. I'm not trying to read you, I swear, but it's like you're shouting directly into my brain. He didn't pull away. What am I thinking now? I closed my eyes, focusing past the overwhelming flood of thoughts from the building's other occupants. Seojun's mind was complex, layered, but the surface thought was clear as glass. You're thinking that my eyes are the exact color of honey in sunlight, and you're wondering if I know how beautiful I am when I'm fighting to survive. My eyes snapped open. Wait. What? Seojun's expression didn't change, but a faint flush colored his cheeks. You asked. I didn't think you'd actually be thinking something like that. Why not? It's true. Vitals stabilizing, Dr. Min interjected, sounding amused. Heart rate still elevated, but that might not be entirely medical. I shot him a glare that probably would have been more effective if I wasn't blushing. You're all terrible. This is a medical emergency, not a drama. It can be both, Doyun said, and when I turned to look at him, his expression was softer than I'd ever seen it. For what it's worth, Seojun's not wrong. Oh, hell. My telepathy spiked again, and I caught the edge of Doyun's thoughts before he could shield them. Not detailed like Seojun's, but the emotional resonance was clear. Fascination, protectiveness, and something warmer that made my breath catch. Stop, I said weakly. Both of you, stop thinking things like that. Can't control our thoughts, Seojun replied, entirely too innocent. You absolutely can. You're both trained alphas with probably decades of practice in mental discipline. Decades? Doyun raised an eyebrow. I'm 28, not ancient. 29, Seojun corrected. Your birthday was last month. Which you threw a party for that I explicitly told you not to throw. You loved it. I tolerated it. I listened to them bicker, these two powerful alphas who'd built an empire together, and felt something in my chest unknot. Not the bond damage, something else. Some tension I'd been carrying since the rejection. The fear that I'd never be safe around alphas again. But Doyun and Seojun didn't feel dangerous. They felt like sanctuary. My wolf agreed, purring softly in the back of my mind. Phase 2 complete, Dr. Min announced. Your psychic channels are responding better than expected. The scar tissue is breaking down, rebuilding correctly. If this continues, you'll have full telepathic function restored within the week. And my wolf? Stronger, still recovering, but the bond pathways are healing. You're going to make it, Jiwoo. The relief was so intense it made me dizzy. Or maybe that was the medication. Hard to tell. How many more phases? Tonight, I asked. 2 more. Then you need rest. Dr. Min checked his tablet. The next phase addresses the emotional scarring from the rejection. It's going to bring up memories, feelings you've been suppressing. You'll need to work through them for the healing to complete. Work through them, I repeated. You mean relive the worst night of my life while pumped full of chemicals? Essentially, yes. Can't wait. This just keeps getting better. Seojun's thumb brushed across my knuckles. We'll be right here. You don't have to keep saying that. I get it. You're committed to this weird redemption arc. It's not redemption, Doyun said quietly. It's choice. I looked at him, this alpha who'd lost his brother and turned that grief into purpose, who'd built a research facility to save wolves he'd never met, who'd driven through the rain to find me on the worst night of my life. Why me? I asked. Seriously, you could have helped any Omega. Why specifically me? Doyun was quiet for a long moment. Then, because when we felt your telepathic signature during that Gangnam negotiation, when you whispered that counteroffer into Jaewon's mind, I knew you were different, powerful, wasted on wolves who couldn't see your worth. We started tracking you then, Seojun added, watching how you navigated Gangnam Pack politics, how you survived in a territory that should have crushed you. You were magnificent, and they were too blind to see it. So when we heard about the rejection, Doyun continued, we knew we had to move fast. Before you died, before some other pack claimed you, before you were lost. I stared at them. You've been stalking me for 6 weeks? Strategically observing, Seojun corrected. That's literally the definition of stalking. Is it stalking if we're planning to save your life? Yes, absolutely. Yes. But I was smiling despite myself, and they knew it. Dr. Min cleared his throat. Shall we continue? The emotional processing phase works best when started within 4 hours of bond severance. I took a breath, steadying myself. Okay, let's do this. The medication changed again, this time to deep crimson. And when it hit my bloodstream, I was back in that courtyard, rain soaking through my hanbok, 300 wolves watching as my world ended. Only this time, I wasn't alone. This time, I could feel Doyun's hand grounding my left side, Seojun's warmth on my right, even as the memory pulled me under. Hyunwoo's voice echoed through the courtyard again. Your presence threatens pack stability. But now, with my telepathy fully restored and the medication stripping away my shields, I could hear what I'd missed the first time. The thoughts beneath his words, the truth he'd hidden from everyone, including himself. She knows. She knows about the Incheon deal, about the territory we promised to the rogues in exchange for their silence. If she tells anyone, if she uses that telepathy, I know what you did, I said, speaking both to the memory and to the present. My voice sounded strange, layered, like I was in two places at once. The Incheon rogues. You promised them Gwangjin's eastern territory in exchange for killing the Kim family. In the memory, Hyunwoo's face went pale. In the present, I felt Doyun go very still. Keep going, Dr. Min said softly. Let the memory play out. Process what you couldn't process then. Jaewon's thoughts bled through next, guilty and desperate. We had no choice. The Kim family would have exposed our financial fraud. This was survival. Murder, I corrected, and I was crying now, tears streaming down my face in the medical room while rain poured in the memory. You called it survival, but it was murder. And you rejected me because I'm telepathic. Because eventually I'd have heard these thoughts and known what you'd done. The memory shifted, warped by the medication into something more honest. I saw Hyunwoo's wolf, not the powerful alpha he projected, but something smaller, afraid. A wolf who'd built his entire existence on control and couldn't handle the one thing he couldn't manipulate. A fated mate who could read his mind. You were terrified of me, I whispered. All that talk about liability and weak bloodlines. But really, you were just scared I'd see the truth. Yes, Hyunwoo's memory thought confirmed. You terrified me from the moment the bond snapped into place. The courtyard dissolved, replaced by another memory. 3 weeks earlier, before the rejection. Hyunwoo and I alone in his study, his hand gentle on my face, his scent wrapped around me like safety. I've never felt this before, Memory Hyunwoo said. This certainty, like my wolf has been searching for you my entire life. And beneath the words, his actual thoughts. This is dangerous. This bond is too strong. I can't think clearly when he's near. Can't maintain control. Can't keep secrets. This has to end before he destroys everything. You loved me, I said, and the realization was a knife. You actually loved me, and that's why you rejected me. Because love meant vulnerability, and you couldn't afford to be vulnerable. Jiwoo! Seojun's voice cut through the memory, anchoring me. Come back. You're here with us, not there with them. But I wasn't done. The medication was still pulling truths from the depths of my trauma, forcing me to see what I'd been too hurt to understand. Another memory. Jaewon, the quieter of the two alphas, pulling me aside after a council meeting. If anything happens, Memory Jaewon said, if we ever have to make a choice between the pack and you, I need you to know it's not because we don't care. It's because he'd never finished that sentence. But now his thoughts completed it. Because we're cowards. Because we built our power on lies. And we can't let anyone close enough to see the foundation is rotten. I opened my eyes, gasping, back in the medical room. My face was wet, my chest aching, but something inside me had shifted, broken open and reformed, stronger. They loved me, I said to Doyun and Seojun. They actually loved me, and they threw me away anyway, because their fear was bigger than their hearts. Yes, Doyun said simply. That's what cowards do. I spent hours thinking I wasn't enough, that if I'd been stronger, better, more worthy, they would have kept me. I laughed, sharp and bitter. But it was never about me. It was about them, their weakness, their corruption, their fear. Exactly, Dr. Min said, adjusting the IV. And now that you understand that, truly understand it, the emotional scarring can heal. You can stop carrying their shame as if it were yours. My wolf stirred, stronger now, angry but in a good way, a righteous way. They threw us away, she growled. Let's make them regret it. Oh, we will, I promised her. Then to Doyun and Seojun, I want them destroyed, not just politically. I want everyone to know what they did. The murders, the fraud, everything. We have evidence of the financial crimes, Doyun said. But murder? I can testify to what I heard in their thoughts. Telepathic evidence isn't admissible in most Pack courts, but it is in the High Council. Seojun's eyes gleamed. The summit. 3 weeks from now, every major Pack in Korea gathers for the Winter Summit. If we bring charges before the High Council there... Public humiliation, I said, understanding, in front of everyone, just like they did to me. Poetic, Doyun observed. I prefer justice, but poetic works too. Dr. Min smiled. Your vital signs are stabilizing. Beautifully, the emotional processing is working. One more phase, and then you rest. What's the last phase? Rebonding, he said simply. Your wolf needs to remember she can trust again, that bonds don't always end in betrayal. I looked between Doyun and Seojun, these alphas who'd saved me, who'd held my hand through the worst of it, who looked at me like I was worth fighting for. I'm not ready for a mate bond, I said carefully. Not yet. Maybe not for a long time. No one's asking you to be, Seojun replied. This isn't about mating. It's about pack bonds, letting your wolf feel safe in a pack again. Our pack, Doyun added, if you'll have us. My wolf's response was immediate and enthusiastic. Yes, these alphas, this pack, safe. Okay, I whispered. Okay, let's do this. The final medication was pure white, almost luminescent. When it hit my bloodstream, I felt my wolf rise to the surface, stronger than she'd been since the rejection, and I felt something else. 2 alpha presences, not invasive like bonds, but gentle, offering connection without demanding ownership. Pack, my wolf sighed. Content. Home. I reached out with my telepathy, carefully, and touched the edges of Doyun's and Seojun's minds. Not reading their thoughts, just acknowledging their presence, letting them know I saw them, trusted them. They pushed back gently, a mental caress that felt like safety. For the first time in weeks, I felt whole. Welcome to Gangnam Pack, Doyun said softly. And 3 weeks from now, I was going to walk into that summit and watch Hyunwoo's world burn. The Winter Summit was held at the Grand Hyatt Seoul, and I walked in wearing power like a second skin. 3 weeks of treatment had done more than heal my wolf. It had transformed me. My telepathy was sharper, more controlled, and my wolf was vibrant, alive, prowling just beneath my skin with predatory satisfaction. The custom suit Seojun had insisted on buying me fit perfectly. Midnight blue with subtle silver threading that caught the light when I moved. I looked like someone worth choosing. More importantly, I felt like it. Ready? Doyun asked, offering his arm. Seojun flanked my other side, both of them devastating in formal wear, both of them radiating alpha authority that made other wolves step aside automatically. Born ready, I replied. Let's ruin some lives. The summit hall was packed with Korea's most powerful wolves. Every major pack alpha, their council members, the High Council adjudicators in their formal robes. And there, near the front, Hyunwoo and Jaehwan stood with their Gwangjin delegation. Hyunwoo saw me first. His face went through a fascinating journey. Confusion, recognition, disbelief, then pure fear as he realized I was not only alive but thriving. Impossible, I heard him whisper to Jaehwan. Bond severance, that's severe. He should be dead. Or maybe you should have paid more attention to what I was capable of, I projected directly into his mind. Hyunwoo flinched like I'd struck him. Jiwoo? Jaewon's voice cracked. How? Science, I said pleasantly, moving to take my seat with the Gangnam delegation. And spite. Mostly spite. The summit proceedings began with the usual formalities, but I could feel Hyunwoo's panic growing. His thoughts were loud, unshielded, spiraling. He knows he's going to tell them. Everything falls apart. When the High Council opened the floor for grievances and accusations, Doyun stood. Honorable Council, I bring formal charges against Park Hyunwoo and Im Jae-won of Gangnam Pack. His voice carried through the hall. Charges of murder, conspiracy, fraud, and violation of sacred bond law. The hall erupted, wolves shouting, alphas surging to their feet, the High Council calling for order. Hyunwoo's face went white. This is outrageous. I demand to know what evidence. I'm the evidence, I said, standing. Every eye in the room turned to me. For 6 weeks, I was bonded to these alphas. For 6 weeks, my telepathy gave me access to their every thought, every secret, every crime they committed and tried to hide. Telepathic testimony isn't reliable, Jaehwan argued desperately. It is when corroborated by physical evidence. Seojun produced a tablet, projecting documents onto the hall's main screen. Financial records, territory agreements, communications with Incheon rogue packs. Everything Jiwoo heard in their minds we verified. The Kim family murders, the embezzlement, the illegal territory deals, all of it. I watched Hyunwoo's world collapse in real time, his allies turning away, his council members backing toward the exits, the High Council adjudicators conferring in urgent whispers. You rejected me, I said, walking toward them slowly, because I terrified you, because a telepathic mate meant you could never hide what you really were. Murderers, thieves, cowards. We loved you, Jaewon said, and I heard the truth in his voice, felt it in his unguarded thoughts. That's why we had to let you go. No, I corrected gently. You feared me. Love doesn't destroy what it cherishes. Love doesn't humiliate in front of 300 witnesses. Love doesn't leave someone to die alone. I gestured to Doyun and Seojun. These alphas taught me what real love looks like. Choosing someone every day, fighting for them, staying when it's difficult. The High Council's verdict was swift. Gangnam Pack's territories seized, Hyunwoo and Jaehwan stripped of their alpha status, criminal charges pending. Everything they'd built, destroyed in less than an hour. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I just felt free. Outside the hall, under Seoul's winter stars, Doyun and Seojun found me on the terrace. You were magnificent in there, Seojun said, pulling me into his warmth. I had good teachers. I leaned into him, breathing in storm winds and dark chocolate, letting myself feel safe. Thank you for everything, for saving me, for believing I was worth saving, for choosing you, Doyun finished, coming to stand on my other side. That's the easy part, Jiwoo. You're extraordinary. The hard part is convincing you to stay. I turned to look at him. Stay? As part of Gangnam Pack, Seojun clarified. As our partner in running the territory, in building something better than what Hyunwoo created. And if we want more than that eventually, Doyun added quietly, if we want to explore what this could become between the three of us, we'll wait, however long you need. My wolf was purring so loudly I was surprised they couldn't hear it. I spent 6 weeks in a bond that was built on lies, I said carefully. I'm not rushing into anything with anyone, no matter how perfect they seem. Understandable, Seojun agreed. But, I continued smiling, I'm also not running away from something real just because I'm scared. So let's try this. Pack bonds first, see where it goes, and maybe... I looked between them. Maybe someday when I'm ready we can talk about more. We can work with maybe, Doyun said, and kissed my forehead gently. Seojun's lips brushed my temple. Maybe is perfect. 6 months later, I stood on the balcony of Gangnam Pack's territory hall, watching Seoul sprawl beneath me like a promise. My telepathy hummed contentedly, my wolf was strong and healthy, and somewhere inside, Doyun and Seojun were arguing about whether to serve Korean or Italian food at next week's pack gathering. I'd survived rejection, bond severance, and 300 witnesses to my humiliation. And I'd become something better than I'd ever been before. Not because I was chosen by the right alphas, though Doyun and Seojun were pretty damn perfect, but because I'd chosen myself first. My phone buzzed. A message from Dr. Min. Another Omega with bond severance just arrived. Thinks he's dying. Could use your insight. I smiled, texting back. On my way. This was my purpose now. Saving wolves the way I'd been saved. Building sanctuary from survival, and loving two alphas who proved that choosing someone every single day was so much better than fate. Thank you so much for staying with Jiwoo's journey until the very end. If this story touched your heart, if you felt the ache of rejection transformed into the power of choice, if you believe that broken wolves can heal and become magnificent, I'd love for you to subscribe. There are so many more stories like this waiting to be told. Stories of omegas who refuse to stay broken, of alphas who choose love over control, of bonds that are earned, not forced. Hit that subscribe button and join our pack. Drop a comment telling me your favorite moment and where you're listening from. You're the reason these stories exist, and I can't wait to share the next one with you. Until then, remember, being rejected doesn't define you. How you rise from it does. Thank you for being here.